My life, as I had come to know it, was nestled in a small but charming home filled with the laughter of my 2-year-old son, Leo, and the steady, reassuring presence of my husband, Michael. I was 31, a former career woman who had climbed the corporate ladder faster than most. My journey had begun in a large company, where I first met Michael. He was a junior member of my team back then, bright and ambitious, but still finding his footing. Our story was not the typical office romance. I was his superior, a fact that made our initial interactions cautious and professional. I remember the first project we worked on together. His ideas were fresh, his approach unconventional. It intrigued me. After hours, we'd often find ourselves last to leave the office, our discussions spilling over from work to life, dreams, and aspirations. It was during one of these late evenings, under the dim lights of the empty office, that our relationship took a turn. Michael, with a hesitancy that was uncharacteristic, had asked me out for coffee. "It's just coffee, as colleagues," he had said. But we both knew it was more. Fast forward through a year of discreet dates and stolen moments, we got married. It felt like a whirlwind, yet perfectly natural. Our wedding was a simple affair, just close friends and family. The highlight was when Michael, in his vows, promised not only to love and cherish me but to always respect and support my ambitions. When Leo came into our lives, everything changed. I made the decision to step away from my career to focus on our son. It wasn't an easy choice, but holding Leo for the first time, I knew it was what I wanted. Michael supported me through it all, his own career steadily advancing as he stepped into more prominent roles at work. Our home became a reflection of our new life. The walls, once lined with my various awards and accolades, now held family photos and Leo's artwork. The spare room, which was once my home office, transformed into a nursery, painted in soft pastels. Despite the joy and fulfillment motherhood brought, there were moments when I missed my career. I missed the challenges, the sense of achievement, and even the office politics. I often found myself reminiscing about my professional accomplishments, wondering what could have been if I had stayed. Michael, aware of my inner turmoil, would often encourage me to consider going back. "You were amazing at what you did, Anna. Leo's growing, and maybe it's time for you to reclaim that part of yourself," he would say. One such evening, as I was preparing dinner, Michael came up behind me, wrapping his arms around my waist. "Have you thought more about going back to work?" he asked, his voice soft. I turned off the stove and leaned back into him. "I have, but I'm not sure, Michael. It's not just about me anymore. We have Leo to think about." He kissed the top of my head. "We'll figure it out together. We always do." The sun was just starting to set, casting a warm glow through the kitchen window as I prepared dinner. Leo was playing with his toys in the living room, occasionally letting out a cheerful laugh. It was a typical evening, or so I thought, until my phone rang, displaying a name I hadn't seen in a while, Mr. Thompson, my former boss. Curious, I answered, "Mr. Thompson? This is a surprise. How can I help you?" "Anna, good to hear your voice. I have a proposition for you," he said, his tone hinting at something important. "Oh, what kind of proposition?" I asked, stirring the pot on the stove. "We're looking for a new head of the department. Your name came up, and I immediately thought of you. Would you be interested in coming back?" Mr. Thompson's offer hit me like a bolt of lightning. I was momentarily speechless. I'm flattered, Mr. Thompson. But I need to think about it." "Of course, take your time. But remember, we'd love to have you back," he replied. As I hung up, my mind raced with possibilities. Returning to work, leading a department, it was a dream opportunity. But as Michael walked in, his face tired from a long day at work, I felt a pang of uncertainty. "Who was that on the phone?" Michael asked, peeling off his jacket. "It was Mr. Thompson. They want me back at work, as the head of the department," I said, trying to gauge his reaction. Michael's face hardened. "Head of the department? That's the position I've been eyeing. They promised me a shot at it." I was taken aback. "I didn't know you applied for it. Why didn't you tell me?" He sighed, frustration evident in his voice. I didn't think it mattered. Besides, you're happy here, aren't you? His words stung. I am, but this is a huge opportunity for me. I can't just ignore it. Michael's expression softened slightly, but his stance was firm. Anna, I need this promotion. It's not just about the money, it's about my career. I want you to call Mr. Thompson back and decline the offer. I felt a mix of emotions, surprise, disappointment, anger. You want me to turn it down? Just like that? Yes, I do. It's important to me, Anna. Please, he pleaded. The room felt smaller as I processed his words. Michael's insistence felt like a betrayal, a dismissal of my aspirations. I realized then that our perfect life was more fragile than I had thought. The tension in the house was palpable since the phone call about the job. Michael, perhaps sensing the distance growing between us, started a new tradition, taking Leo out on weekend mornings, leaving me with a few precious hours to myself. On one such Saturday, as Michael was bundling Leo up in his little jacket, I felt a mix of relief and resentment. You sure you want to do this every weekend? It's a lot of work, taking Leo out alone, I said, watching them by the door. Michael looked back at me, a determined look on his face. I got this, Anna. You need a break. Besides, Leo loves our little adventures, don't you, buddy? He ruffled Leo's hair, who giggled in response. As the door closed behind them, the house fell into a silence that felt both comforting and unsettling. I poured myself a coffee and sat at the kitchen table, the weight of my thoughts heavier than the mug in my hands. Hours later, when they returned, Michael had a victorious grin on his face. We conquered the playground, didn't we, champ? He said, helping Leo off with his shoes. Leo's face was flushed with excitement. We saw a doggy, mommy. A big one. His innocent joy was infectious, and I couldn't help but smile. That sounds wonderful, honey, I said, bending down to give Leo a hug. I looked up at Michael, trying to read his expression. Did you have fun too? Michael nodded, a hint of something softer in his eyes. Yeah, it was good. We should do this more. It's good for him. And for us. His words, simple as they were, hit me unexpectedly. It was an olive branch, a small step towards mending the rift that had formed between us. Maybe I could join you next time, I suggested tentatively. He paused, then nodded. Sure, that could be nice. As I watched them play in the living room, a sense of normalcy crept back into our home. The job offer still hung over us like a dark cloud, but in these moments, it felt like we could find our way back to each other. The weekend had unfolded in its usual rhythm. Michael had taken Leo out for their Saturday morning walk, a routine that had become their special father-son time. As I settled in with a cup of tea, I remembered the smartwatch I had secretly slipped onto Leo's wrist for safety. Michael didn't know about it. I thought it was better that way, just a small measure of reassurance for me. Casually, I opened the app on my phone to check their location, expecting to see them at the nearby park as usual. But the blinking dot on the map was nowhere near the park. It was several blocks away, in a residential area unfamiliar to me. My heart raced with confusion and concern. I dialed Michael's number, trying to keep my voice calm. Hey, where are you guys? Leo wanted to show me something he found in the park, but we can't seem to find it. There was a brief pause before Michael replied, his voice too nonchalant. We're just at the park, near the pond. Leo's having a blast feeding the ducks. His words didn't match the GPS location. I felt a knot in my stomach. Sounds fun. See you when you get back, I said, ending the call. As I hung up, a flurry of questions invaded my thoughts. Why would Michael lie about their location? What was he hiding? I decided not to confront him about the smartwatch. I needed to know more, to understand what was happening before revealing my hand. The rest of the morning, I was restless, my mind spinning with possible explanations. When they returned home, Leo was his usual cheerful self, chattering about the ducks and the playground. Michael seemed relaxed, unaware of my inner turmoil. How was the park? I asked, watching Michael for any sign of discomfort. It was great. A bit chilly, but we had fun, didn't we, buddy? Michael responded, ruffling Leo's hair. Leo nodded eagerly, oblivious to the tension. We saw big ducks, mommy, and a doggy. I forced a smile, playing along with their tails. That sounds lovely. I'm glad you both had a good time. As the day went on, I couldn't shake off the unease. Michael's deception, however small it seemed, had planted a seed of doubt in my mind. What was he doing in that unknown neighborhood? Why lie about it? For a whole week, my mind buzzed like a beehive, disturbed and restless. Each time I glanced at Michael, a wave of questions and doubts washed over me. But I masked my turmoil, waiting for the weekend, waiting for a chance to unravel the truth behind Michael's mysterious outings with Leo. Saturday arrived with a heavy air of anticipation. Michael, as per the new routine, got ready to take Leo out. I watched them, my heart a knot of anxiety and suspicion. Have a great time, I said, forcing a smile. Where are you guys heading today? Michael, securing Leo in his stroller, looked up and replied with ease, thought we'd check out that new playground on the east side. Leo's been asking about it. After they left, I waited, my hands clasped tightly in my lap, counting the minutes. As soon as I saw their location veer off course on Leo's smartwatch app, my resolve hardened. I grabbed my keys and headed out, determined to confront whatever lay at the end of that GPS trail. Driving to the location felt surreal, like I was a character in a bad movie. The neighborhood was unfamiliar, a stark contrast to our own. I parked a block away and approached the address on foot, my heart pounding in my chest. The house was a modest, two-story building with a small, well-kept garden. Hiding my nervousness, I stood across the street, pretending to be interested in my phone. Soon, I saw them, Michael and Leo, approaching the house. The door opened, and a woman appeared. She was young, perhaps in her late 20s, with a bright smile. Michael pulled her to him, possessively, and they kissed. I watched, hidden behind my sunglasses. A part of me wanted to lash out at them, push them away from each other. Instead, I took out my phone and snapped a few photos, proof of the betrayal. I returned to my car, my mind a whirlwind of emotion. The drive home was a blur, each mile stretching out endlessly. Back home, the house felt emptier, even with Leo's toys scattered around. I sat at the kitchen table, staring at the photos on my phone. Michael, my husband, the man I trusted, was kissing another woman. The images burned in my mind, a stark, painful reality that I couldn't escape. When they returned, Michael was in high spirits, regaling me with stories of their day, the playground, the ice cream they had, Leo's laughter. I listened, nodding and smiling, a hollow feeling growing inside me. And how was the new playground? I asked, my voice steady despite the chaos inside. It was great, Michael replied, unaware of my internal turmoil. Leo made a new friend, and they played on the slides for ages. Monday morning arrived with a sense of urgency I hadn't felt in a long time. As I watched Leo play, a plan formed in my mind. It was time to reclaim a part of myself that I had put aside. Once Leo was settled with his toys, I stepped into the other room and dialed Mr. Thompson's number. My heart raced as the phone rang. Mr. Thompson, it's Anna. I've thought about your offer, and I'd like to accept the position of department head, I said, my voice steady but filled with resolve. That's fantastic news, Anna. We're thrilled to have you back on board, Mr. Thompson's voice boomed with enthusiasm. After the call, I felt a mix of excitement and apprehension. I had taken the first step towards a new chapter in my life, one where I wasn't just a wife and mother, but also the professional I used to be. The day passed slowly, the weight of the impending confrontation with Michael heavy on my mind. When he finally came home that evening, his mood was off. He slammed the door a bit harder than usual and threw his keys on the table. Anna, we need to talk. Why did Thompson call me today saying you took the job? The job that was supposed to be mine? His voice was laced with anger and disbelief. I took a deep breath, meeting his gaze. I did take the job, Michael. It's time for me to get back to my career. Your career? What about our agreement? What about our family? He shot back, his voice rising. Our family will be fine. This is about me, Michael. I need this. My words were firm, unyielding. Michael laughed bitterly. You need this? What about what I need? What I've been working towards? I stared at him, the betrayal and pain I had felt over the past weeks boiling to the surface. What about what you've been doing, Michael? Behind my back? His laughter stopped, replaced by a confused scowl. What are you talking about? I pulled out my phone and showed him the photos I had taken. I know about her, Michael. I've seen you with her. His face paled as he looked at the photos, his anger dissolving into a mix of shock and guilt. Anna, I can't explain. No, Michael. I don't want to hear it. Not now. I cut him off, my voice shaking with emotion. You've broken our trust, and now I need to focus on myself and Leo. The decision to file for divorce, though heart-wrenching, was driven by a deep sense of betrayal and the need for justice. Armed with irrefutable evidence of Michael's infidelity, I stood my ground in the courtroom, demanding appropriate compensation and alimony. Michael fought fiercely, contesting every claim, every penny, as if trying to salvage his pride. The legal battle was draining, emotionally and mentally. But I remained resolute, bolstered by the knowledge that I was fighting not just for myself, but for a fair future for Leo and me. The court, recognizing the weight of the evidence, ruled in my favor. It was a bittersweet victory. The repercussions of our publicized divorce extended beyond the personal to the professional. The scandal of Michael's affair, once private, became a public spectacle. It wasn't long before the company we both worked for was embroiled in the controversy. Unable to weather the storm, they let Michael go. I remember the day he confronted me about it. His anger was palpable, his words sharp with blame. Are you happy now, Anna? I've lost my job because of this mess, he exclaimed, his voice tinged with bitterness. I met his gaze, my own resolve unwavering. You brought this on yourself, Michael. You made your choices, and now you're facing the consequences. He scoffed, shaking his head. I can't believe how cold you've become. You're just sitting pretty while I have to scrounge for a lesser-paying job. His words stung, but I didn't let them sway me. This isn't about revenge, Michael. It's about doing what's right. It's about justice for what you did to our family. Our relationship, post-divorce, was anything but amicable. Michael's resentment towards me only grew with each alimony payment, with every job application that led nowhere. And while I took no pleasure in his struggles, there was a part of me that felt vindicated. Justice, in its own way, had been served. Life after the divorce felt like walking on unfamiliar terrain. Each step was cautious, yet with every passing day, I grew more confident in my new role as a single mother and a professional woman reclaiming her career. One crisp morning, as I was getting Leo ready for school, he looked up at me with his big, curious eyes. Mommy, are you okay? You seem different. I knelt down to his level, brushing his hair back. I'm more than okay, Leo. I'm strong, and we're going to be just fine. He smiled, that pure, innocent smile of a child. I think you're like a superhero, Mommy. Like in my comics. I chuckled, hugging him close. Well, every superhero needs a sidekick, right? How about you be mine? Leo nodded enthusiastically, his laughter filling the room. It was moments like these that reminded me of the resilience and joy that still existed in our world, despite the shadows of the past. At work, I found myself diving into projects with a vigor I hadn't felt in years. My colleagues noticed the change too. One day, my coworker, Jenna, commented on it during lunch. You seem different, Anna. More, I don't know, alive? Jenna observed, stirring her coffee. I smiled, sipping my tea. I feel like I've finally woken up, Jenna. Like I'm seeing things clearly for the first time in a long time. Jenna smiled back. Well, it suits you. Keep it up, boss lady. Life wasn't without its challenges, though. Michael and I had minimal contact, only speaking when necessary for Leo's sake. Our conversations were brief, to the point, and often tense. On one such occasion, as we discussed Leo's upcoming parent-teacher conference, Michael's frustration was evident. "I can't make it to the meeting, Anna. I have to work," he said curtly over the phone. I took a deep breath, keeping my tone neutral. "That's fine, Michael. I'll handle it. Leo's doing great in school, by the way." There was a pause. "Thanks, Anna. Let me know if there's anything really important." As the days turned into weeks, and weeks into months, I found solace in the small victories and joys of everyday life. Leo's laughter, the satisfaction of a job well done, the support of friends and family, these were the things that now defined my days. I realized that moving forward wasn't about forgetting the past, but about learning from it, growing stronger because of it. It was about building a new life on my own terms, filled with hope, resilience, and the promise of new beginnings. As I looked at Leo, growing taller and more confident each day, I knew we were on the right path. Together, we were moving forward, stepping into a future that was ours to shape.